Hi, welcome to the NBA Carousel. I'm Megan Price, and I'm your host. Last night was the All-Star Festivities, and in favor of many predictions, Team LeBron won over Team Durant. The final score was 170 to 150. With Damian Lillard hitting the final 3 points before the buzzer, Team LeBron was actually 31 out of 61 from the three, and Team Durant was 27 out of 72 from the three. Team LeBron slightly over 50% from the three, leaving the score to be a pretty big difference. Simmons from Portland won the slam dunk contest during halftime, while Steph Curry turned up the heat, winning the 3-point contest prior to the game. Sabonis won the skills competition, which I believe says a lot about the state of big men in the game this year. There was a lot of speculation on whether the All-Star festivities should even happen due to COVID, but for good reason. But yesterday morning, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were ruled out of the All-Star due to contact tracing from their barber who tested positive for COVID. Obviously, this is going to be a common storyline this season in any sport. With the NCAA tournament right around the corner and the end of the regular season in the NBA looking extremely hectic with teams having to play missed games from earlier in the season. But let's move on to something different, something fun this week. We're going to go ahead and fill in that gap of not having any games for a few days, and we're going to have a debate-style show. This week, we will be having team reps go head-to-head and battle it on a few different topics. First, we have Chris from the Clippers and Will from Utah battling it out on who will finish in that number one spot in the West. Hey, Chris. Hey, Will.
Hey.
Hello.
Guys, how are y'all doing today?
Good. How are you?
Everything's good.
How are you, Chris?
I'm good.
That's great. What did y'all think of the All-Star?
Go ahead, Chris.
I liked it. You know, like you were saying in the beginning, where I was questioning having it, but it went pretty well. I definitely cringed when I heard about Joel and Ben Simmons. I was like, they might cancel this game. But everything went to plan, and it went out pretty well.
Agreed. I think to no surprise, Team LeBron was just extremely dominant. I think the difference maker for that is how accurate they are generally. Like, they had all the 3-point shooters on their team, you know?
Right.
Will, what did you think?
I thought it was great. The only disappointment was the dunk contest. It wasn't great. It wasn't the best dunk contest. But other than that, I think things went smoothly. I would have loved to see Ben Simmons and Embiid play. But overall, I think the NBA handled it very well, and I think it got a lot of good reception.
Agreed. I know over Valentine's weekend, I was super sad. I was like, normally Valentine's weekend is the All-Star. That's all I worry about on Valentine's weekend. So I definitely missed that. I'm glad they were able to do it. I think that we're super spoiled from Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon type of dunk contest. Even though to me, I thought it was a good dunk contest. I had no idea that the Topin boys were Dunker's Delight's sons, because there's another one who plays for Kentucky. And I don't know if he plans on entering the draft, but those boys can hoop. So that was an interesting fact, I thought. And I thought Topin did pretty well.
I didn't know that was his dad either. And then I'm like, I've heard this.
Well, okay, so you guys are going to be talking about something really interesting. Okay, so the top 4 out of the West, there's been a little bit of movement, but I think we can anticipate that these 4 are going to be the top teams. So you got Utah in number 1, and then you also have the Clippers, who are at number 2. So who do you think finishes first, and why? Why should it be your team?
You want me to go first?
Go ahead.
All right. Well, I just think at this point, how the Clippers are constituted, I think if they stay healthy, with Kawhi staying healthy and also PG staying healthy, I think that's definitely a critical at this point. I look at their schedule down the stretch; it's a little questionable. I see I'm been looking at some, I call it schedule watching, and I kind of see some games that'll be very favorable. I see a couple back-to-backs like we got against Dallas, San Antonio at the end of the month. A couple of those, so that they could be kind of, you don't know if you're going to sweep them or it could be like a 1-1 type of series. And then we got a few home games against, I think, like Atlanta and Charlotte. So they kind of, I look at that schedule a little favorable. And I'm hoping that, these guys stay healthy. Hopefully you'll get more contributions from Lou. He'll be a little bit more consistent. And then just what can happen in the buyout market, because I really don't think we're going to be able to get no trades. We don't have that many assets to kind of give away, especially first round picks. We won't have one to the back end of the decade, unfortunately.
Oh, right.
So
that's that Kawhi price.
You're right. Absolutely. I definitely see this team, especially when you look at, they kind of slide a little bit as of late. Obviously, loses last 3. They were 21-8 once upon a time. It seemed like a distant memory ago. But that, and then even splitting with Utah, I think that lets me know, like, hey, this team is, if everything comes together and they don't take no time off for load management, I think this team could definitely be in first place.
Absolutely. Okay, Will, why should it be your team?
I think it should be the Jazz. They have won 3 out of the 4 meetings from the Clippers. They won by 18, 6, and 20. 2 of the games were double digits. And plus, Kawhi has had load management issues, and Paul George has been a little bit injured. But also that the Jazz have also projected to have the easiest schedule from here on out.
Yeah, I saw that in reports.
But also, like, Mitchell's been balling out like an MVP.
Yeah.
Gobert's played like a defensive player of the year. Clarkson's on a tear coming off the bench. And Mike Conley's helping a bunch too.
Agreed. Okay, so I'm going to say my opinion about the first little feedback that y'all gave. I think that you both probably have projected easier schedules. I don't know what the Clipper schedule looks like at the end of the schedule, like the last month or so, but that first month doesn't look too tough. But I do think that Utah will be successful because of that, because they have the easiest number 1 ranked second half of the schedule. And also, I think that there's some issues with the Clippers' health. I don't know if they stay healthy. I do think the Clippers bring it come playoffs. I think that Paul George is tired of being called the non-playoff P. We called him Pandemic P. So what do you think your team needs to do to improve to get that number 1 spot?
The funny thing is, I think we really need a lead point guard. And it's one of the things where it's like, it's going to be hard to get that at this point. I mean, a part of you, like I know we talked about in other shows as far as a wish list. I know we talked about this as far as with the Clippers. You look at, we talked about D Rose once upon a time. And then we even now a guy on the wish list at this point would be Kyle Lowry, which I know for a fact we probably more than likely would not get him. But I think they really need a lead point guard, especially if they want to make a run, a legitimate run in the playoffs. I like Pat Bev, but he's not doing it at that point guard position, especially with when you got Kawhi and also PG there. They have to have a lead guard.
Right. Will?
To maintain the first seed, just keep playing how you've been playing. You've been playing great ball as of late. Like I said, Mitchell's been balling out. Gobert's been balling out. Clarkson's balling out. Conley's playing well. Bogdanovich has stepped up as of late. Ingles has stepped up of late. You just can't get sucked up in the moment saying, oh, we're the best team, and get a little too cocky and ahead of yourself. You have to stay in the moment and go one game at a time and say every game is a new test. A record, even a losing record team could beat the best team. Like, you never know what kind of night you can have. You can have a great shooting night against a really good contending team, and then play a horrible team the next night and just absolutely not show up.
So what bothers you about your opponent's team? What do you think is is going to keep you from getting that number one spot from your opponent's team?
For Utah's sake, I mean, I think that when I look at the Clippers having the chip on their shoulder, they're just as big. I mean, when you look at, and it's funny to think that this team, it was funny with Utah. I always thought they were kind of like verging, like kind of, it's almost like I figured they were on the verge of go either one way or the other. Especially, that being always stuck in that 5th seed and forever. And then it didn't lose. We both are losers to Jamal Murray and the Denver Nuggets in the 7-game series. So, so we both are victims of that, unfortunately. But I just see what they, and then just Donovan Mitchell, just the criticism that he's taken, and then just even, the Shaq criticism, and then, Rudy Gobert and him and Donovan Mitchell getting picked last in an All-Star game, especially Donovan Mitchell of his caliber. They really have a chip on their shoulders in that, and I think, this was going to be a pivotal year for them anyway, but this is almost like a bona fide, look, we got to prove something this year.
Agreed. Will, what do you think? What bothers you about the Clippers?
The defense of Kawhi Leonard is just amazing. And
Game
the scrappiness. Yeah, exactly. And then the scrappiness of Pat Bev on the defensive end, too, can disrupt the guard play of potentially Mike Conley or Clarkson, who I don't know if Clarkson's had playoff experience, but if we have to run into the Clippers down the road in the playoffs eventually, Clarkson's going to have to step up and prove why he has played so well during the regular season and hopefully can carry it over to the postseason.
Agreed. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and give each of y'all 30 last seconds to kind of sell it on why your team should be the one to finish number one in the West. Go ahead.
Well, we have the most dynamic duo in the NBA with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So, hey, perimeter, we're great defensively on perimeter. And, hey, we got another chip on our shoulder as well. We're the little brothers to our hallway mates. So, hey, we're playing with fire.
Agreed. Okay, Will.
I can second that. Well, Conley has been balling out. Like I said, these guys have been balling out. Mitchell's top 20 in scoring. Conley's top 30 in assists. Conley, Bogdanovich, Mitchell, Clarkson are top 30 in three-pointers made. Gobert's second in rebounds. Gobert's second in blocks. Conley's top 10 in assists. These guys are in like the top 30 of categories, and that's very good. And if they can carry that momentum into the postseason, look out Clippers, look out Lakers, look out Western Conference, look out Eastern Conference. Because this Utah team is hot.
I completely agree. I got to give it to Will. I'm sorry, Chris. Will he really stole it that last little bit. He said, watch out, even the East. Hey, we're coming for it.
I got to give props to Chris, though. I respect the Clippers like nobody else.
Yeah, I know. Clippers are a very dangerous team. Any team that Kawhi is on is going to be a dangerous team.
True.
So, you guys, go ahead.
Shoot, even I wear Paul George shoes.
Right. Yeah. Well, guys, go ahead and take 30 seconds. Shout out and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you. Chris, you go first, and then Will, you go last.
All right. Follow the podcast, host of Couch Coach Live, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram on the Couch Coach Live. Also, anywhere you get social media is Couch Coach Live.
All right, Will.
You guys can find me here on Monday nights, the NBA Carousel. Megan's on it. A lot of great people are on it. Coaches, too. A lot of great people, like I said. I'll be covering either the Jazz or the Hornets. And also, you could catch me on the Sip Off on Saturday night sometimes. That's hosted by Megan. And, hope to see you guys next Monday.
Well, thank y'all so much for coming on. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next debate. We're going to keep the heat coming. We've got Jen representing Boston. We've got Cool McCain representing Milwaukee. And they are fighting over who is going to make a deeper playoff run. Hey, Cool.
Hello, Megan.
How are y'all doing this evening?
Good. How are you?
Doing really well. What did y'all think about the All-Star festivities?
Ladies first.
Okay, we'll do it. Jen, when I ask a question, Jen, you go first, and Cool, you go second.
Thank you, Cole. Thank you, Megan. I always like it when Steph wins, so go Steph. But I don't know. Like this year, just didn't have the same pizzazz.
Agreed.
In a lot of levels.
Agreed. What did you think, Cole?
Well, I definitely have to agree with Jen a couple of points. One thing, the slam dunk contest was blah, like really, like just blah.
Yeah.
Only 3 people. The dunk that won wasn't even one of the best, in my opinion, 4 dunks of the night. They had to change the rules thanks to Mr. Dwayne Wade and his cheating ways from a few years ago, so that kind of took a little of the pizzazz off as well. I think the best part of it for me was the 3-point contest. The 3-point contest was hotly contested and exciting, but everything else was like whatever. Even though Giannis was perfect. But I just,
he did, yeah. I mean, he did, and he won the MVP. So I mean, I felt like it was well deserved, even though like Team LeBron was just super dominant the whole time. But I really liked the skills contest. I thought that it was awesome that a big man won the skills contest. I think that shows a lot of growth from the game that we knew. Like, Shaq doesn't even like big guys to shoot 3-pointers. And I think, they come in, and I think it's changed and evolved over the last couple of decades. And I like it. I think it keeps, it diversifies it a lot. Okay, so guys, let's talk about who is going to make a deeper playoff run. You both have very star-filled teams, and you both, even though Boston's kind of lagging in the rankings, they're still a really dangerous team. They're not all the way healthy yet. And so, once Marcus Smart gets out there, I really think that they're just as dangerous as Milwaukee. So, Jen, let us know why you think Boston's going to go further.
Well, and you kind of nailed it there. Kendall Walker is getting healthier every single game. We're seeing it. I was just looking at his stats. Even in the last week, his prior to the last week, it was 15 points per game was his average. Now it's up to 18.73 or 18.7 or 18.3. Sorry, I made up a number there. And I think that with Kemba's leadership, you've got Tatum, you've got Brown, you've got Smart coming back. Smart's still giving leadership in the locker room as well. I think that we're going to go really far. It's just my humble opinion. I mean, I know, the Bucks have Giannis. They have, I forgot his name. It's de Blasio. I want to say de Blasio, sorry. That's the mayor of New York. One of their players has been really improving the 3-pointers. But I just think that at the end of the day, the desire to win is what's going to get them through it. Plus, the Celtics have already beat the Bucks earlier in the season. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a possibility.
All right, cool. What do you think?
Well, didn't even allude to it herself. We have Giannis. So number one, that's where we're going to stop and go. You also look at the pieces around him. We're looking at guys like DJ Augustine. Pat Connaughton's been there a few years now. Torrey Craig's another guy that has playoff experience. I think you were talking about Dante DiVincenzo. People do mess up his name a lot. It's tricky.
I really did mess up his name. Sorry.
That's okay. It happens. Brian Forbes, a guy that I know Megan's a little familiar with.
Yeah.
He's a guy that very good on the long range shots. You look at guys like Brooke Lopez, Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis this year, Drew Holiday. So we're talking about a good core of guys who a lot of them are veterans. They have 3+ years of experience in the league, playing at a high level. And I say 3+ just because of some of the guys are younger, but for the main core, you're looking at Middleton, Lopez, Giannis. Those guys have 5+ years in the league. So once you've been here for a while, once you've played, once you've become a veteran, and then Holiday as well, once you become a veteran, you kind of go through some of these things. You know what to expect. You know where you need to get. And then the fact that we've been deep in the playoffs before but weren't able to finish. They've done a great job, I think, in Milwaukee of remaking the team to fit the weakness of Giannis, and we all know what that is. Even the announcers were very scared when he went to shoot the threes last night, right? So we know that the 3-point shooting is where he lacks, but you're putting pieces around him that make up for that. Outside of that, Giannis is pretty much unstoppable. So you put other pieces around him. So even if he's having a night where he's not able to do everything he can do, now you placed in the Drew Holiday. Now you went and got a guy like Brian Forbes, who's a shooter. So you filled in weaknesses for a team that's gone deep every year. Now you've made it better.
True. But you guys, y'all were knocked out first round last playoffs. Now I know that is probably affected. One, Giannis got hurt. Also everything was different in the bubble. So this is, we're getting back to normal type of playoffs. Okay. So what scares you? What scares you about your opponent's team? What do you think can keep you from making that deep playoff run?
So if we're matching up with Boston, we'll say. So the main thing with Boston that would concern me is the youth, because they're going to be able to bang for, 35, 40 minutes a game without, tiring down as much. Some of their guys like Akemba may not be able to, but once they have Smart back, that's a guy that you can insert that can do some of the same things and actually gives you guys a little bit more on defense. So I think that that would be the biggest thing for me. And then the fear, of course, would be Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum both getting hot on the same night. We definitely don't want that. But, outside of those things, I'm not as concerned, but those are some big concerns, and they are realistic concerns if you're playing Boston.
Right. Absolutely. Jen, what bothers you? What concerns you about the Bucks? What do you think will keep you guys from going to further in the playoffs than them?
Honestly, I do think it's Giannis, of course. He does have a desire to win. But here's a little segue, sorry. So does Kemba. And Kemba's getting healthier every single game. And with those stem cells that he got injected into his knees, youth, we got young knees, baby. We're good.
Right.
But I also am worried a little bit about Dante because his 3 points have gotten better. He has, just continuously done, that was what his goal was to work on for this season. So that was his, visualize it and make it happen. That's what he's doing. So those are my two biggest concerns. I will say I think that there might be a little more camaraderie on the Bucks right now. I think the Celtics kind of were playing the blame game amongst themselves because of all the star power they have, and they didn't want to be fourth and then fifth and sixth for a hot minute. Plus side, they're back up in fourth. So the Bucks really aren't that far ahead of us, so it's not unattainable. But very true. Those, and then, let's not kid ourselves with, the brotherly love out there in the Bucks court too. So Giannis is going to do everything he can to do to make Giannis look good too, right? So
agreed.
Nothing more powerful than sibling love. So,
all right. Well, you guys take 30 seconds apiece. Jen we'll have you go first. Jen, you'll go last, and just hit me with the last 30 seconds of why you think your team is going to go further.
So quite simply, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, they're elite pieces beside a top 5 player in the NBA. I say top 3, but just for the sake of argument, top 5. You put headhunters beside him, guys that play good on both ends of the court, offense and defense, that can guard small forwards, some guys that play power forward, guards, anything basically 1 through 4. They're able to switch a lot of height, a lot of shooting. And like you said, they were embarrassed last year. Chip on your shoulder. If we can get angry Giannis for the whole playoffs, things are looking good.
Absolutely. Jen, your turn.
So I really do think we can go further than the Bucks, because in my mind, you guys can still have that hangover, right? Just saying, just like the Super Bowl hangover. So that's what I'm hoping for. On top of that, I think that the Celtics actually have a winning record over the Bucks. Overall, I may be wrong on that, but I know it's close, if not winning. Anyway, this season it's winning. I think that with Kemba getting healthier every single day, with Smart coming back, with Brown and Tatum on the floor, I think, it's on. I really do think it's on. I think that desire and that wherewithal that not many players do have in the league, that a couple of the Celtics players do have, which is win at all cost. As long as it's, within the games of the rules of the game, you're good. I think that's what we're looking at.
Oh man, both of y'all prove really good points. I really think that first round exit is going to be a chip on the Bucks' shoulders. So you don't know if they're going to come in and want to avenge that. I mean, I'm sure they are. But Boston, y'all just have such a deep bench. I really like your rookie. I really like Kemba there playing better, and you have the ability of Marcus Smart to come back and that type of leadership. But I think you hit it with the nail on the head, Jen, when you said that camaraderie on the Bucks. You don't really hear about a whole lot of locker room drama over there. You don't hear about coach drama over there right now. And I think that's going to be the reason why. So I got to go with cool this time.
Fine, whatever. Forget, go with the cool guy.
Don't forget one other point. I did make this earlier, but Boston's lacking in the size department as far as their rotational players. So they have some guys that play in the post. Yes, but definitely lacking in the post. And that's where Giannis, Middleton to an extent, Lopez, those guys, that's where they would be able to eat in the matchup between those two teams. And that's a big advantage that we have over a lot of teams in the East that are not the Sixers.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
But you have to keep in mind the Napoleon complex. One name for you that stands out in the NBA to this day with the Napoleon complex, Muggsy Bogues.
Very, very true. Very true. I grew up watching him. I still got to go with the Bucks. I think they're going to go further, and I think it's not because y'all don't have that star quality or y'all don't have the ability to do that. I think y'all are in a bit of a funk. Now, I could be wrong. Y'all can work your way. You can work your way out of that funk by the end of the season. And if you can get above the Bucks in the rankings, then I think it's a completely different story. Because then you guys will end up probably playing each other the next round.
Mm-hmm.
So
I can see that.
I'm going to go with cool this time, but you guys go ahead and shout out where everybody can find you, where they can follow you. Jen, you go first. Cool, you go last.
So I'm starting a new Reddit page because my Reddit account got hacked. So y'all can follow me at just Jenna Cheryl on Reddit. You can find me on Twitter as well as Facebook on several pages. I'm monitor founder of primarily Panthers football, not going to lie, plus the Unlimited Sports teams. Right. And you guys, to quote what Will said earlier, NBA Carousel on Monday nights that JB Ellis and Megan Price founded.
Thank you. Cool, go ahead.
Absolutely. And of course, NBA Carousel as well. You can also find me on Friday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, playcallsportstalk.com. We're live. Shows are on YouTube if you aren't able to catch them live. You can also find me on Facebook, Cool McCain, on Twitter and on Instagram at Cool McCain. Keep it very simple and fun.
Well, cool. I'm going to add you here in a little bit, and I'm going to make sure I share one of your shows for you, okay?
Awesome.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move up to a head-to-head matchup in between Texas teams. We've got Steven from the Mavs, and we've got Jay from the Rockets. And I need y'all to decide who's the best team in Texas. Now, I'm going to go ahead and let y'all act like it's not San Antonio, because it is. We'll leave it to you two guys. Steven, you go first. Let everybody know why you think the Mavericks are the best team in Texas.
Well, first of all, it wouldn't be a Texas show if it wasn't a quick, hey, how y'all doing today? Everything, absolutely. Everybody doing all right?
How y'all
Jay,
doing?
What's up, brother? But ultimately, I think that the Mavs are the better team, and here's why. One, you have Luka Doncic. That's clearly an advantage that many other teams don't have. I've been critical of him so far this season, but I don't really see any other player that has that kind of a dual forward mentality to where he can go over and take over a game. Kristaps Porzingis has been playing very well as our stretch big. Jalen Brunson has had some phenomenal games lately. You know, they're tying it together with Hardaway Jr. has been stepping it up lately as well. We got a legendary head coach in Rick Carlisle, former NBA champion, right? As you know, as a player and now as a coach, we're getting it together. I believe we're 8-2 in our last 10 games, which was what we needed to do in order to come into this All-Star break, get a rest, kind of recalibrate with our brand new roster. We shifted from an offensive mentality to what we tried to do as a defensive mentality. You know, we traded away Seth Curry, got Josh Richardson, tried to get a little bit meaner and tougher after our playoff series with the Clippers, but we're kind of getting back to our roots a little bit. Like, okay, we're not going to be a lockdown defensive team. We have one of the best young players in the entire NBA right now, Luka Doncic. He needs to take over, but he also needs to look to get his teammates open. You know, I feel like he came into the season with MVP ambitions, and a lot of the media, a lot of us fans fed into that, you know, kind of boasted him up, kind of what Russell Wilson did this season in the NFL, right? So I think that Luka is kind of learning that, okay, it would be cool to win MVP, but I got bigger aspirations on my hands right now. Let's get this Mavericks team back into the playoff picture, which she's done already. Now let's get back up there to try to get home court advantage for the playoffs.
Okay. Jay?
Okay. I'm going to go off script here for a second.
Uh-oh.
Okay. I love it.
I want to apologize in advance to Miss Megan Price and Mr. J.B. Ellis, because my job was to explain why the Houston Rockets would be the best team in Texas. But absolutely nobody watching this telecast is going to see a team with an 11-game losing streak, and think that I'm credible by saying that Houston is the best team in Texas. So I'm going to explain how we can be the best team in Texas.
I respect that, Jay. I respect that.
Whether I lose this debate or not, I'm going to keep it TRL with you.
Right.
Now, here's what we need to do, because I explained in other telecasts before on how essentially we are starting all over. I'm not expecting a team rebuilding to make a deep run in the playoffs. It's got to take some Cinderella-ness, New Line Cinema type universe in order for that to happen. So throw your jabs, do whatever it is you got to do. I always felt that we had to get back to playing big man ball. Since we got Christian Wood, diamond out of the rough. So we need to keep it. We need to keep feeding him in the low post. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that we should stop shooting the lights out, you know, but we're away from that D'Antoni mentality. We can feed the big man. We also should keep it up, because in years, and the longest joke for the longest time has been Rockets don't play defense. They actually have improved defensively in recent years, and at one year they ranked 7th in the league, you know, but the focus was on Harden. Harden don't play defense, but they forgot about everybody else. Back when we had Clint Capella was a banger. Tucker does his thing. Not House. Gerald Green did his thing. You know, so
I like Gerald Green
defensively. Now, I really think that we should have kept Boogie, but it is what it is. I think that what we can do is we can go out there and we can get another big man, maybe even through the draft. Use one of the picks and get somebody that can back up Christian Wood. Or you go and sign someone off the street, sign someone off the block. If Blake Griffin came to the Rockets, I wouldn't have been mad at that. I'd take a risk. I would have taken a risk on it. Look, hey, first of all, he adds something that Houston hasn't had in a year and a half, and that's height. Second of all, I'm willing to take a risk on that because he was not as injury riddled as Boogie was. They're not watching minutes with Blake Griffin like they are with Boogie, because chances are Boogie gonna get to his next destination. It's gonna be the same thing. They're gonna be watching his minutes. He may have stayed in Houston. You see what I mean? So, with that being said, I think we need to go back to a more well-rounded style of ball. Feed the open man on the outside. Play defense. That doesn't mean let's let them shoot and then hope they miss and come down with the rebound. Go lock him down on the wings. Go lock down the perimeter. Go lock him up inside the hole. Come down with the rebounds. Play real defense. That's why I'm so glad for Steven Silas. I think that he's going to bring a brand new culture to the team. I think that, and we talked about this last time, he's not really a player's coach, but he's not like, you know, a Belichick, or not Belichick, Popovich type, you know. He's right there in the middle. That's what we need. That's what we absolutely need, you know. And I think I really, really, really want to keep Oladipo. But if we got to get rid of him, it better be somebody of equal value, because I think he's been doing a little better than people expected coming off of the injury that he did. And Also, it's John Wall's team. Wall has to take this.
That's what I was gonna say. I think the difference maker or the best thing that y'all did besides get rid of D'Antoni was how well John Wall has played off those back-to-back injuries. Like he's played so well. So we can take this argument to the next level though, or the question and make it a two-part question. What's the best Texas team of all time? Both of y'all have history. Y'all have some championships. What's the best Texas team of all time? You ain't got to talk about just this season. Let's talk about all time.
Megan, did you just invite us on here to brag on your team? Like, is that what you're wanting? There's no other answer but San Antonio. Yes,
no. But out of the two of y'all, what's the best team out of the two of y'all?
That's a little bit better of a debate.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I think that the peak teams, I think Jay's Rockets got it. I mean, if you're talking about absolute peak, like who did it better? But, Dallas, we have the Cinderella aspect to it. We had the old man squad that nobody counted on coming in and winning a chip. So, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. Jay, I'm sure you might agree with this. I mean, peak, come on, man. It doesn't get much better than the dream there. It doesn't get much better than the dream. But, you got Dirk, you got Kidd, you got Marion, you got Chandler, you got Peja, you got it's the old man team. It's like balling at the Y. They came out and played their game and got a ring one year. So it really depends on what you're looking for.
Okay. And Jay, why do you think the Rockets are the best team out of Texas, out of the two of y'all of all time?
Now, for the record, it was the Rockets that started winning first in Texas. Just so y'all know.
Oh, we know.
Right. Very true.
But absolutely, I'm gonna go with the legendary teams, of course, in Days of the Dream. Jet, Kenny Smith,
Moses,
Clyde Drexler. I definitely am gonna side my Rockets on this one. However, I will say, Mavericks, if y'all would have kept Steve Nash, y'all probably would have passed us in rings.
Yep.
I think so too.
Maybe.
Y'all probably would have passed us in rings. You would have kept Steve
Shout out to Moses real quick. One of the most underrated players in NBA history. Moses don't get no respect anywhere people talk about NBA greats. Moses Malone, much respect.
Right. Yes, I love that.
Absolutely. I pulled for the Mavs the year that y'all won it because I wanted to see Dirk get him one. He couldn't retire without him getting him one, and I was glad. He ran to the locker room. He was crying. He was happy. Because he finally did it. I was happy for him. And actually, funny story. My cousin went to Sean Marion's celebratory party, and his girlfriend took a picture right next to the Larry O'Brien trophy.
There you go.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, y'all each take 30 seconds and give me one last little go of why your team is the better team in Texas.
Can I just say Luka Doncic 30 times? I mean, we got Luka Doncic. We got, KP. Really, it all comes down to coaching. I think Rick Carlisle is one of the more underrated coaches in the NBA. When the Mavs are on TV, they talk about him. But when you listen to like radio, when you listen to TV and they're talking about NBA head coaches, he kind of falls through the cracks. I mean, he's such a good coach, and I think that he's got his finger on the pulse on this team. I think that he reached out to Luka and was like, do you want to win or do you want an MVP season? Because actually the secret to an MVP season is winning. So if you want to win, that'll help your recognition and your accolade achievement process too. Because I already did it with Dirk. I can do it with you too if you just let me. So I think that they're finally establishing a little bit of an identity with some new pieces this season. And I mean, no disrespect to Jay. Jay already said it himself. The Rockets, they're focusing on other things right now. And Mavericks, they only got one way to go with a young player on a rookie scale contract in Luka, and they got to capitalize now.
Agree. Jay?
Okay. Well, we can be the better team. Basically, it's John Wall's team now.
It is.
It's his team. He's still in his prime, and he's doing way better than we expected coming off that injury in his prime. It's going to be on him and Christian Wood. I really would love to keep Oladipo. That would be great, but we need to get in a draft and just start drafting some youngsters.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, we might be 2-3 years away, from even at worst case scenario from seeing the playoffs again. And I'd be all right with that if I know I could win a title in like 4 or 5 years, and finally, bring a third one to Houston and all. I think Wall has balled, consistently his whole career. One of the consistent players out there. I think he deserves a ring. I think for Depot, him carrying Indiana like he did, I think he deserves a ring. And if we can, if I could just imagine getting to the finals and Wood putting on an MVP performance, and now they start doing the debates of Wood versus Dream, who are you gonna have? I know it might be a little too far fetched, but
well, actually, one of our somebody asked a question, John Shearer. He said, "Who would you rather have, the Dream or Dirk?"
Well,
the Dream. It's the Dream.
It's the Dream. Yeah.
Dream's knocking on the door of top 10 all time. He may not be in top 10, but he's like 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there. The Dream is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay, well, guys, I'm going to go with Steven for best team in Texas currently. That's not a San Antonio Spur. But of all time, I got to go Houston because and it's a point that neither of y'all brought up. What the difference maker for me is Yao Ming, Tracy McGrady. They had it so exciting that when they were there on that team, guaranteed they were going to the playoffs always, even when Tracy McGrady was hurt. They were always there in that first round. So I think that kind of kept them their validity more there. So out of the two of y'all of all time, I got to say Houston. But Steven, you win the debate.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll take a win when I can get one. Jay, it's great debating with you, man. You killed it, man.
You too, man. And much respect, Brody. Maybe the Rockets can win next week, and I'll celebrate that.
Hey, man.
Right.
We can talk about it.
Yeah. Well, you guys go ahead and take 30 seconds, shout out, and let everybody know where they can find you, your own shows, what you got going on, and we'll see you back next week.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Megan. Again, shout out, Jay. You killed it, man. Pleasure working with you today, brother. If you want to follow me myself, you can follow me at StephenBTG. It's right there on the nameplate. That's on Twitter. If you want to follow me on Instagram, that's at Stephen W. Gillespie. I co-host a show. It's an NBA show. It's called Breaking the Game. I co-host it with a buddy of mine, Austin Carr. It's called Breaking the Game, available anywhere you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at BTG NBA Pod. We air on an app called Dash Radio on the Nothing But Net channel, and that's on Monday and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. I would love for y'all to check us out there. And I also write and contribute for offtheballnetwork.com. Please go check that site out. We do NFL, NBA, hockey, combat sports, WNBA. We podcast, we write, we do a lot of great stuff. So please go check out offtheballnetwork.com.
All right, Jay, your turn.
All right. You can catch me on Twitter at NellyNeil13. That's NELLINEL13. I also I'm working for VisD Productions. It's actually non-sports related, but I'm a screenwriter for them, and I got tasked with writing a short book, 5,000 word book. So I'm going to co-author a book here shortly. I also am on the Sip Off every this comes Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's gonna be Friday, and it's probably going back to Saturday. You catch me on the Sip Off on Facebook Live, which is hosted by Megan Price. And then also I'm right here every Monday on the NBA Carousel via Sideline Sports on YouTube. Shout out Megan Price. Shout out Craig Davis, Marshall Hill, Unconventional Kings. Pleasure debating with you, Steve, and let's bring it back in another month or two.
Yes, sir. And I just followed you on Twitter, by the way, man. We got to do some work together down the road. Get these Texas teams respect.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm gonna be working with you, man. I'm gonna add you here in a minute.
All right, yes, sir.
Thanks, guys, so much. We'll see you back next week.
Thank you,
guys,
Megan.
we're gonna go ahead and move on to the three representing Golden State, and then we have Jordan representing Phoenix. These two gentlemen are going to be arguing who has the better star quality in the franchise history. But first, I want to start off and ask, what did you guys think about the All-Star?
Go ahead, Jordan.
I personally, the problem with exhibition games is that's all they are. They're fan entertainment. I thought for what they had to be going through with the COVID-19 pandemic, they actually did a really good job. I agree with everybody saying that the dunk contest wasn't as good as years past. I do miss the stars doing the actual dunk contest, but otherwise I think for a fan's perspective, with the entertainment, they did a great job.
Agreed. Steve, what did you like? What did you think?
The slam dunk contest has kind of lost its luster for me as well. The 3-point contest was obviously great. Obviously, Steph won it, and he did Steph things, which was great. And what made the 3-point contest so good was because it was all-stars participating in it, which is what the dunk contest used to be, if you can remember that far back. But back when Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, and Spud Webb's not to their caliber, but they were great dunk contests between the three of them. Dr. J was in dunk contest. Larry Bird was in 3-point contest. So it was actually a fun spectacle. But really, selfishly, the best part about it was I won money on Giannis getting MVP and Team LeBron covering the point spread. But other than that, it's an exhibition. It's for the fans. Whether it should have happened or not happened, obviously is a different debate. But because at least it did happen, and it was a lot of fun. It was the first time that LeBron and Steph were ever on the same team together. So it was kind of fun to watch. Yeah, it was kind of fun to watch that. So all in all, it was an enjoyable, experience. And yeah, I mean, Team LeBron was just stacked. I mean, so there's no way they weren't winning that game.
Agreed. Well, anytime you make some extra cash, that's definitely a W, Okay, guys. So we're going to start off arguing who has better star quality in franchise history. So, Jordan, I'm going to let you go first.
Well, of course, when you think of the Suns, you have to think of Charles Barkley. He played for the Suns from 1991 to 1996. He's a top 50 player. Of course, there's Grant Hill, who averaged 12.1 points, 4.7 rebounds from 2007 to 2012. Steve Nash, who might be the best franchise player in our history, averaged 14.4 points, 9.4 assists, plus two-time MVP. And Jason Kidd, who spent 5 seasons in Phoenix. We had Shaq. I know he was at the tail end of his career, but he still played for us. And then besides that, you have Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, Stephon Marbury, Jeff Hornacek, even though that Jeff Hornacek is more known as being a Utah Jazz, helping them get to the NBA Finals. But you also need to remember that this franchise started in 1968, so they're not as old as the Golden State Warriors.
True. Very true. Okay, Steve, your turn.
Yeah, and partly it's not fair because before they were the Golden State Warriors, they were the Philadelphia Warriors, and they won the first ever NBA championship in 1947. They had this guy named Wilt Chamberlain, who some of you might have heard of, just past the anniversary of his 100-point game here at the beginning of March. And then they had other, obviously great players. Rick Barry, they won the 75 championship. Robert Parrish, JoJo White, Bernard King, go down the list of great players. The Fun Run TMC with Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond, Chris Mullin there in the 90s. They have 18 Hall of Famers currently. That's not including people who have played for them or are playing for them that will be in the Hall of Fame. That's currently as of right now. Even their front office has star players. The logo. Jerry West was their GM for years. Don Nelson, the coach, obviously now is Steve Kerr, who's obviously won as a player and as a coach. And, then obviously you had KD. You have Klay Thompson, you have Draymond, all he does is win every level, whether it's back-to-back state titles at Saginaw High, going to Final Fours at Michigan State, winning championships at Golden State. But saying all that, there's one person, and that is a young man named Wardell Stephen Curry II that trumps everything that I just said because of how great he is and how transcending he is. And it's obviously not single-handedly, but you can basically look at him changing the way the game is played to positionless basketball, to more threes. And I wanted to at least have one number, so I looked it up for you. The year before Steph Curry got in the league, 2008, 2009, the NBA teams with the most three-point attempts a game was at 27.9 3-points attempted a game. Right now, that number would make you 29th out of 30th. Now, everybody, 27 of 30 teams are over 30 a game. There's 5 that are over 40 a game. And yes, it's not just because of Steph Curry, but it's just it's amazing that in that short amount of time, you literally have gone from teams averaging 11 to 25 threes a game attempted to 45 to 30 3-points attempted. It's just an incredible number. I mean, he's transcending the game. Everybody shoots from 35 feet now, and it's because of Steph Curry. So by himself, even taking away everybody else that I mentioned before that, him alone is more star power. With all due respect to Charles Barkley and some of the other players you mentioned, and I'm a little hurt that you didn't mention the pride of Central Michigan Thunder, Dan Marley, but I will let that slide just this once. But Phoenix Sun, great, Dan Marley.
Very true. Very true. Okay, so I'm going to take it to take the question to the next level. Who has the better star quality this year?
Right now, I'm going to have to say the Phoenix Suns because they have Chris Paul, they have Devin Booker. We're a healthy team as opposed to Golden State, who right now only has Steph Curry and Draymond Green. Yeah, Steph Curry is a great three-point shooter, and Draymond is a great bench player. But as a team, you need to have those two superstars, and that's exactly what the Phoenix Suns have. They have Devin Booker and Chris Paul, who, by the way, Chris Paul will be in the Hall of Fame, and Devin Booker is working his way up there.
Agreed. Okay, each of y'all take 30 seconds apiece and give me the last little push of why your team has the better star quality in franchise history.
You can go ahead, Steve, first.
Yeah, and I do agree. Chris Paul obviously is a great point guard, and Devin Booker continues to be one of the most underrated players in the NBA. And I'm not just saying that because he's from Granville in Michigan, and I watched him play since he was in 7th grade. But he's extremely talented, and I got and give you right now, Booker. You know they got a nice team, but I'll still give you Steph Curry by himself is more star power than Devin Booker and Chris Paul combined. Even though Chris Paul obviously 100% will be a Hall of Famer, he's had a great career. But Steph Curry, first unanimous MVP, went to 5 straight championships, won 3 of them. All the scoring titles, all the All-Stars appearances, all the leading in three-point attempts and makes, and he will be the all-time leader in 3 points made before he retires. So by himself, it's still more star power, which is why I give it to Golden State.
I'm still going to go to past history. I know we haven't been at a franchise for as long as they've been, but we still have Charles Barkley, like I've talked about, Shaquille O'Neal, Sean Marion. I mean, the list goes on. And right now, again, we have Chris Paul and Devin Booker, who are probably, I mean, I know Chris Paul will be, hopefully Devin Booker will be a star player in this league. Unfortunately, couldn't play in the All-Star game, which is, I mean, it sucks for him, but at least he got there. So I rest my case.
Okay. I mean, I've just got to go with the amount of time that the franchise has been around with Golden State and say that, and also Steph, just because he has changed the game so much. And just, you know, for me, I remember when I first started watching Steph, my thought was, he reminded me of Kobe, like just how accurate he was and just how exciting he or the type of excitement that he brought back to the game for me. So I'm going to say Steve, you know, and I agree because it's Steph, you know, like he's amazing. And I mean, the amount of time the franchise has been around, but I will say that, you know, Phoenix is probably going to go further this year. And I have Phoenix going to the West Finals. I got it, Phoenix and Utah.
Yeah, if you're talking about this year, who's the better team? No question. The Suns Phoenix, are a better team this year. Definitely. Without question. Yeah,
I can't argue that. And like you guys have said, Steph Curry has transcended the league in terms of 3-pointers.
Right. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Go ahead and shout out and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow your own shows. And Steve, you go first. Jordan, you go last.
Yeah, when I'm nice enough to Megan and she lets me on Monday on the Carousel, you can find me here. Every Tuesday night, I have my own NBA podcast called Flagrant Friends. We record it on Tuesday night and then get it out either Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning. Easiest way to find that, if not where you find your podcast, Podbean, all those fun things, but also on my basketball website, which is All Eyes on You, the letter U, hoops.com, which is also All Eyes on You. Hoops is my Twitter. Easiest to find me there. And yeah.
All right, Jordan.
You can find me on Twitter at SportsScoop1, or I have a blog that I write Monday through Friday at sports-scoop.com.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll see you back next week. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move on to the final debate. And it's actually myself representing the Spurs, of course, against Kevin from the Cavs. And we're going to be talking about who has the better chance on improving to a top 5 team next season. All right, Kevin, how are you?
I'm fine. It's
Doing well?
morning here. Yeah,
Yeah, I see that. I see the sun coming through your windows. So what did you think about the All-Star weekend?
it's as always a good one. And as always, dunk contest was boring for me, to be honest.
Right, yeah.
I enjoyed the All Star game, but it was not that good as it was the previous time. But yeah, it's fine. Like for if you say it entertainment wise, it was great. Other than that, it was just as normal it should be.
Well, okay, so back to our topic about what team can be a top 5 team by next season. I think there's a couple of points. I'm going to start with the Spurs. Spurs are in 7th in the West right now. They're 18 and 14. They're, of course, 5 games behind schedule. So the end of the season is going to be really tough for us. It's not only going to be physically tough, but just mentally tough. We have 40 games. Once they released the second part of the schedule, we had 40 games left to play. Over the next week, we have the Mavs on Wednesday, we have the Magic on Friday, and we have the 76ers on Sunday. So I think on top of the end of our schedule being really, really tough, our entire second half of our schedule is really hard. Like we've got to play the Clippers quite a bit. Like there's just and it was something that I thought about the first part of our season, of our schedule too. Like we had a really tough schedule at the very beginning. We had the Clippers back to back, then we had the Lakers back to back, and then we went back to the Clippers. So we had to play top tier teams for the first like 5 to 6 games of the season. So but I will say with all that, we're still in 7th. Like we're still one of those solid teams. We're still a team that can hand out key losses is one of my favorite phrases. It's a loss that hurts and a loss that prevents you from doing something. It's going to prevent you from moving up to the next ranking, or a loss that's going to prevent you from going to the playoffs. And the Spurs are completely capable of that. I will say that if we don't do something by the trade deadline, I think that, which is March 25th, I think that the Spurs could be in trouble of not making the playoffs this year. That'll be the second year in a row. And just as a Spurs fan, that hurts. We went 23 years back to back consecutively to the playoffs. But I do think that our young core is what's going to keep us in that running. I don't think we'll have a very high seed. It'll be number 7, number 8. But, that young core is what's going to take us to that next level. And I do believe if we can keep DeRozan, keep him for the next 2 to 3 seasons, the last few years of his career, that we could be that top 5 team next year. And when I say top 5 team, I mean top 5 team in the NBA, not just the West. Like, I think that we have that ability, but we're going to have to drop some dead weight. LaMarcus Aldridge. All right, Kevin, I'm going to let you go ahead.
I can't agree to that more, but when you see Cleveland Cavaliers, their streak just showed what capabilities they have. The Sexland just came up, it just busted. The team just played out so well. You saw it took Brooklyn Nets to 2 overtimes to just get a win over Cleveland Cavaliers, which was also not successful. So when you see Bickerstaff and his system and the way the players are operating into that particular system, with all those things considered, that they had the most amount of bigs and they had a dearth of guards, still they tried to go on a such streak. And even though Kevin Love injured, Cleveland Cavaliers have sustained. Now, if you
Right.
see Cleveland Cavaliers like that, right now they are 27th in 27th in offensive rating, and 22nd in defensive rating. That is because of previous past performances. But if you see the whole season till right now, you see how good they have played. And when you see strength of schedule, which Megan talked earlier, actually San Antonio Spurs have a tougher schedule now. Right now, Cleveland Cavaliers are sitting around 7 to 10th in strength of schedule. But other than that, right now we don't really want to contend for playoff. We can contend for the play-ins right now, and we need to focus on the other season. After Drummond possibly gets unloaded, we have our centerpieces set right now. That is Jarrett Allen, Colin Sexton's, Darius Garland. And right now, we would be needing a good power forward. If Larry Nance stays or if he leaves, we do have Kevin Love for the next year as well. and we also have a good draft pick as well. Right now, if you see the mock draft, it's Jalen Johnson. So everything is just in
Right.
the development stage. So there is nothing that, something which has been broken and then you made it. It's just a good, simple, nice process, because staff came in at a good time, the team stood up at a good time. You can see the whole streak coming out. And if this continues to the next season, and if the players develop properly, and we get a good if we get some good players in the free agency, I can really think, not in just not just soon, but in the next season as well, we can contend for playoffs right now. Possibly we can target for top 5, but as you see, the system is being set right now. Top 5 is a priority, but first we need to get into the league's top tier teams, the teams which are most talked about.
Okay, so I'm going to move to a different point on this question and say what concerns me about your team, keeping my team from being that top 5. I think one, you listed Colin Sexton is, last year, I think a lot of people said, he's just a role player. He doesn't have the leadership abilities. I think he's proved them wrong in the last couple of games. I think that ability was there, and then there was drama within the locker room. You're affected by the trade deadline as well. You have a player that's sitting right now, but I think that I want to say you guys won the big trade at the very beginning of the season. Like, Jared Allen is just a top notch. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's balling for you guys, and some stats are going to be kind of padded when you play for a bad team and you're a great player. So you're obviously going to have all the points, all the blocks, all the boards, but I think that the rest of the players around him are starting to fall in sync and also step up a little bit more. You saw Sexton start stepping up back a little bit more. So I do think that you guys have the ability to be a top 5 team, and who knows what it's going to be like once Kevin Love comes back. I don't know. I can't say if I think that he's hit the cliff or not. I haven't seen much out of him. So, it's been so long since I've seen him on the court. I wouldn't want to give that judgment and say, that he couldn't still be a very vital part of y'all's team. And he's a very big part of y'all's locker room, just like morale wise. So, very lovable guy, and has the ability to be on a championship team, so, great. You just have like maybe 1 or 2 missing pieces, and y'all have that ability to do that with the draft. And not only if you take that pick, that your first round pick, but if y'all do any maneuvering with your second and third round pick, who knows what you guys will look like at the beginning of next season. So I would definitely not rule you guys out on having some validity on being a top 5 team.
Yeah, of course, but considering San Antonio Spurs, I am a previous Spurs fanboy. I used to die on Kawhi Leonard when he used to play for San Antonio. But there are some things that are really concerning. Yes, you mentioned that there's a dead weight on San Antonio Spurs, that's LaMarcus Aldridge. But also you have to see that you are losing your 2 bench players, that's Rudy Gay and Patty Mills, who are on their expiring contracts. And if they don't come back, it's going to be tough for Greg Popovich. Even it's tough for Greg Popovich. Okay. Even it's tough for Greg Popovich to, he's not. There are still questions if he is going to be there or not. There have been questions about Greg Popovich staying. So you already have a system, and if Greg Popovich just moves away, you really don't know who's going to take next. So. If Greg goes in the next season, which I really don't want to, I want to see him more 5 years right now. But if he goes, then you have a whole new system developed. And if any of his assistant coach, which is probably someone coming, Tim Duncan or the female coach, I really can't remember her name right now. If she's gonna come in, I really know that there are going to be some changes to the system as well. And it's like, as I said, the strength of schedule for you guys right now is tough. Ours is easy, so we can have good wins. We can have that particular morale boosted up for us, and we can enter for the plains at a good at a good state of mind. We can possibly go for playoffs as well. But when it comes to the next season, yes, Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be a threat if they take good moves. If right now with the free agency and with this particular trade deadline, if they, if they make their moves correct, it is possible. Also, if we see, Isaac Okoro has been playing really good.
Mm-hmm.
He has been playing really, really good. So you just see what all positives which Cleveland Cavaliers and can have, and the post LeBron era has been tough for us. And I can possibly see the team is going to come out from the post LeBron era to a new identified Cleveland Cavaliers.
Well, I think you touched on a couple of things that I think are just kind of my last points on why I think it could be San Antonio. Now, even if Greg doesn't finish out playing or doesn't finish out coaching his contract, like I think he still has 2 seasons left. Obviously, next year negotiations would start on an extension. But even if he decides not to be our coach anymore, we have to. I think we don't know for sure, but I think we have Becky in place to take over that position, and there's nobody else that knows nobody else that knows the system just like Pop other than Becky. Hold on one second. And then the last point of why I think San Antonio could be the one to be the top 5 is that I really believe in our young core. We have DeJounte Murray, we have Devin Vassell, which I don't think we've seen him at his full capacity yet. He's our rookie. And we have a couple of other rookies. We have Trey from Duke that actually played for the G League team. And we have Luka also, who we brought up from G League team. There's just a lot of promise in that young core right there that I really enjoy seeing. And I think that's going to be what takes us to our next, because we don't even play the same type of style ball that we used to play anymore. And so I think once we changed that keeps us in that validity conversation. But I'm not going to judge our debate. I'm going to let people comment and decide who wins this debate since I'm the host. But Kevin, give us 30 more seconds on why you think it's going to be Cleveland.
I can't really stress enough. You have got the system set. You have got your players. You have a good draft pick coming up in the upcoming draft lottery. What else do you need? And the player which can possibly come in is Jalen Johnson, 7th pick shooting guard. So the position which we are lacking right now, where we need a depth, Jalen Johnson can come in. He can he can just play behind Iris Garland and just grow over it, and then the system can be set up. The rest, everything is in pieces. Everything is fine. You just have to just start the machine, and we can just shoot off to the top 5 teams in the NBA.
Absolutely. All right, Kevin, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, your own show, and we'll see you back next week.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on NBA Carousel by Sideline Sports. You can find me on the Kev Pod. I always hop around everywhere just giving podcasts, and I really record my own podcast, but I'm just trying to figure some things. But yes, you can find me on the Kev Pod. You can follow me on the Twitter, Kevin Somani. You can find me on Instagram, Kevin Somani. That's it. Thank you. And shout out to Megan. She has been a great host. Yeah.
Thank you. We'll see you next week. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up this evening. Thank you so much for watching the debates. Hope you enjoyed the All-Star weekend, and good luck on your upcoming games. See y'all next week.